This testimony comes from a Qatari heiress who wanted to share her story. Please pray for our sister. I wanted to be the first testimony on your channel. To share my story of sacrifice, of leaving everything behind for Jesus. I know I am not alone. That the price I paid, as steep as it was worth it. My name is Amira, though that is not the name I use anymore. I cannot tell you my real surname or show you my face, because even now, 3 years later, there are people looking for me. People who want to bring me back to Qatar, back to the life I left behind, back to the $300 million I walked away from. I know how that sounds. Who walks away from $300 million? Who leaves behind a family empire, a life of absolute luxury, a future secured by more wealth than most people see in 10 lifetimes? The old me would have called such a person insane, but now I understand, because I've met the one who is worth more than all of it. His name is Jesus, and this is the story of how he found me in the gilded cage of my father's world and set me free. I was born in Doha, Qatar, into a life most people only see in movies. My father, Hassan al-Rashid, built an empire from the ground up. He started with a single construction company in the 1980s, and by the time I was born in 1999, he owned half the luxury hotels in the Gulf region, had major stakes in natural gas exports, and controlled a real estate portfolio worth billions. Our family name opened doors across the Middle East. We were not royalty, but we were close enough that it made little difference. My childhood home was a palace in every sense but the official title. 32 rooms, imported Italian marble throughout, a staff of 47 people. My bedroom alone was larger than most apartments, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Persian Gulf. I remember standing at those windows as a little girl, watching the sun set over the water, turning everything golden, and thinking this was what the whole world must be like. Beautiful, perfect, untouchable. My mother, Yasmin, was the perfect wife for a man like my father. Elegant, educated at the Sorbonne, fluent in 5 languages. She managed our household with the precision of a Fortune 500 CEO, hosting dinners for dignitaries, sheikhs, and businessmen from around the world. I watched her glide through those events in designer abayas, her jewelry worth more than most people's homes, speaking French to diplomats and Arabic to religious leaders with equal grace. I had one sibling, my younger brother Khalid. He was born when I was 8 years old, and from the moment I first held him, I loved him with a fierceness that surprised even me. He was small and perfect, with huge brown eyes that seemed to see right into your soul. As we grew up, Khalid and I were inseparable. While I was being groomed to marry well and manage parts of the family business, Khalid was being prepared to take over everything. He was brilliant, kind, and had a curiosity about the world that our father both admired and tried to contain. Our lives followed a strict rhythm. 5 times a day, the call to prayer echoed through our home. We had our own private mosque on the grounds where an imam came to lead prayers and teach us the Quran. I memorized surah after surah, recited them perfectly, wore my hijab without complaint. My father was not a cruel man, but he was absolute in his expectations. We have been blessed with wealth, he would tell us, but that blessing comes with responsibility. We must be examples of Islamic virtue. The world watches families like ours. I never questioned it. Why would I? I had everything. At 16, I was sent to Oxford to study international business and economics. My father bought a flat in London where I lived with 2 housemaids and a driver. I spent my days in lecture halls and libraries, my evenings at halal restaurants with other wealthy Middle Eastern students. I came home with a first-class degree and returned to Doha to begin my real education, learning the family business. By the time I was 23, I sat in on board meetings, managed our hospitality division's marketing, and represented the Al-Rashid name at conferences across the region. I was good at it. I loved the challenge, the strategy, the power of building something. My father was proud. "You have your mother's grace and my mind for business," he told me once. "You will do great things, Amira." But there was one thing I couldn't control, one area where I had no say, my future marriage. When I turned 22, my father informed me that he had been in discussions with the al-Mansouri family. Ibrahim al-Mansouri was a high-ranking diplomat, and his son Rashid was being groomed for a political career. A marriage between our families would be a dynasty in the making. "You'll meet him next month," my father said. It wasn't a question. I met Rashid 6 times before our engagement was announced. He was handsome, educated, polite. He spoke about politics and economics with intelligence. He would be a good husband by every measure my world valued. I didn't love him, but love wasn't the point. This was about legacy, about family, about the future. I accepted the ring, smiled for the photographs, and began planning a wedding that would cost more than most people earn in a lifetime. Everything was perfect. Everything was planned. My 25th birthday was approaching, the date when my personal trust fund, worth $300 million, would be fully released to me. The wedding was set for 2 months after that. My future was a golden road stretching out before me, paved with certainty and wealth. And then Khalid got sick. It started with headaches. Khalid was 16, in his final year at the American School of Doha, preparing for university. He'd always been healthy, athletic, full of energy. But that September, he began complaining of headaches that wouldn't go away. At first, we thought it was stress from his studies. Then came the dizzy spells, the nausea. The day he collapsed during a football match, everything changed. My father had him taken to the best hospital in Doha, where they ran every test imaginable. I remember sitting in that sterile waiting room, my mother clutching her prayer beads, my father pacing like a caged lion. When the doctor finally came out, his face told us everything before he spoke a word. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "It's a glioblastoma, a very aggressive brain tumor." The words didn't make sense at first. Tumor, cancer, brain, Khalid. My baby brother, who was supposed to live forever, who was supposed to take over the empire, who had his whole life ahead of him. The doctor continued talking about treatment options, survival rates, clinical trials, but I couldn't hear anything over the roaring in my ears. "How long?" my father asked, his voice hollow. The doctor hesitated. "Without treatment, perhaps 3 months. With aggressive treatment, we might extend that to a year, maybe 18 months. But Mr. Al-Rashid, I must be honest. This type of tumor at this stage, in someone so young, the prognosis is not good." My mother's sob echoed through the hallway. I sat frozen, unable to cry, unable to move. This couldn't be real. This couldn't be happening. My father went into action immediately. If money could fix this, he would fix it. Within a week, we had consulted with specialists in Germany, Switzerland, and the United States. We flew Khalid to MD Anderson in Houston, where he began an aggressive regimen of chemotherapy and radiation. My father rented a luxury apartment near the hospital, and my mother stayed there full-time. I flew back and forth between Doha and Houston, managing business during the week and spending weekends by my brother's bedside. Watching Khalid go through treatment was like watching a light slowly dim. The vibrant, laughing boy I knew disappeared behind pain and nausea. His thick black hair fell out in clumps, his skin turned gray. His eyes, those beautiful brown eyes, became hollow with suffering. But he never complained. Even at 16, facing death, Khalid had more courage than anyone I'd ever known. "I'm going to beat this, Amira," he told me one evening as I sat beside his hospital bed. His voice was weak but determined. "I have too much to do still. I'm going to live." I held his thin hand and nodded, forcing myself to smile. "Of course you are. You're a fighter." But the treatments weren't working. After 3 months of chemotherapy, the tumor had barely shrunk. The doctors suggested an experimental treatment, a clinical trial that might give us more time. We said yes to everything, anything. My father would have bought the hospital if he thought it would save his son. It was during this time that everything changed. Not with Khalid's health, which continued to deteriorate despite every treatment, every prayer, every bargain we tried to make with Allah. No, what changed was something I never expected. Something that would shake the foundations of everything I believed. Khalid's hospital room was private, but the oncology ward was small, and we got to know the other families. There was a teenage girl from Mexico who painted during her chemotherapy sessions, an elderly man from New York who told jokes to make the nurses laugh. And then there was Emmanuel. Emmanuel was 14, a small, thin boy from Nigeria whose family had somehow scraped together enough money to bring him to Houston for treatment. He had the same diagnosis as Khalid, the same aggressive tumor, the same grim prognosis. His mother stayed in a cramped room at a nearby church, taking buses to visit him every day. They had none of our resources, none of our connections, yet there was something about them that drew my attention. They were always smiling. Even in the worst moments, even when Emmanuel was sick from the treatment, his mother would sit beside him reading from a worn Bible, singing hymns in a language I didn't understand. Emmanuel's room, just down the hall from Khalid's, seemed to glow with something I couldn't name. Peace? Hope? I didn't know. I only knew that every time I walked past, I felt a strange pull, a curiosity I tried to suppress. Khalid noticed too. "That kid Emmanuel," he said to me one day. "He's always happy. How is he always happy?" I shrugged, uncomfortable with the question. I don't know. Maybe it's their culture. But it wasn't culture. It was something else, something that became impossible to ignore the day everything changed. It was a Tuesday morning in early December. I had flown in from Doha the night before and arrived at the hospital around 9. My mother was in Khalid's room, and I was bringing them coffee when I heard the commotion. Nurses were running down the hall toward Emmanuel's room. Doctors were shouting orders. My heart sank. I knew what this meant. We'd seen it before with other patients. The end was coming. I stood frozen in the hallway, clutching the coffee cups, unable to move. My mother emerged from Khalid's room, her face pale. "What's happening?" I think it's Emmanuel," I whispered. We waited, expecting the worst. But then, after 15 minutes, the activity stopped. The doctors emerged looking confused rather than grief-stricken. One of them was shaking his head, staring at a chart in disbelief. Emmanuel's mother came out of the room, and to our shock, she wasn't crying. She was laughing, her hands raised to the ceiling, tears streaming down her face as she praised God in English and her native Igbo. "He's healed," she shouted to everyone and no one. "Jesus healed my boy, the tumor is gone." I felt my blood run cold. That was impossible. Glioblastomas didn't just disappear. I'd read every article, consulted with every doctor. These tumors didn't heal spontaneously. They killed. They always killed. But over the next 2 days, the story spread through the ward. The doctors had run new scans, CT, MRI, everything. The tumor that had been eating away at Emmanuel's brain was gone. Not shrunk, not reduced, gone. Completely. The medical team had no explanation. They used words like spontaneous remission, an unprecedented case, but Emmanuel and his mother had only one explanation. Jesus healed him, she told anyone who would listen. We prayed and he answered. 3 days later, Emmanuel was discharged. Before he left, he came to say goodbye to Khalid. I was in the room when he arrived, standing beside my brother's bed. Emmanuel looked like a different person from the sick, weak boy we'd seen just days before. His eyes were bright, his smile radiant. "I wanted to tell you something before I go," Emmanuel said to Khalid, his voice soft but clear. "Jesus healed me. I know you're Muslim, and I respect that. But I had to tell you, he's real, he loves you, and he can heal you too." My mother stiffened beside me. I felt a flash of anger. How dare this boy come in here and proselytize to my dying brother? But Khalid's response surprised me. "How do you know?" Khalid asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "How do you know it was him?" Emmanuel smiled. "Because I saw him. 2 nights before the doctors found the tumor was gone, I had a dream. He came to me, wearing white, and he touched my head. When I woke up, I knew I was healed." My mother moved to usher Emmanuel out, but Khalid held up a weak hand. "Thank you," he said simply. "Thank you for telling me." After Emmanuel left, my mother and I didn't speak about what he'd said. We couldn't. In our world, such talk was dangerous, heretical. We returned to our prayers, to our supplications to Allah, to our desperate bargaining. But I could see something had shifted in Khalid's eyes. A question had been planted, and I feared where it might lead. Over the next 2 weeks, Khalid's condition continued to worsen. The experimental treatment wasn't working. The tumor was growing despite everything the doctors tried. We were running out of options, and everyone knew it, even Khalid. But something else was happening too, something I didn't discover until it was almost too late. I had returned to Doha for a week to handle some urgent business matters. My mother stayed with Khalid, calling me every evening with updates. "He's weak," she would say, her voice tight with suppressed tears. "But his spirits are strangely good. He's been watching videos on his iPad, educational things, he says." When I flew back to Houston 2 days before Christmas, I went straight to the hospital. My mother had gone back to the apartment to rest, and I found Khalid alone in his room. He looked terrible, his skin almost translucent, his body so thin I could see every bone. But when he saw me, his face lit up. "Amira," he whispered, "I'm so glad you're here. I need to talk to you." I pulled a chair close to his bed, taking his hand carefully. "What is it, Habib? Are you in pain? Should I call the nurse?" No, he said quickly. "It's not that. Amira, I need to tell you something, and I need you to listen. Really listen. Don't get angry. Don't shut me down. Please." My stomach tightened with apprehension. "Okay, I'm listening." He took a shaky breath. "I've been watching videos about Christianity, about Jesus. Amira, I think Emmanuel was right. I think Jesus is real." The words hit me like a physical blow. I pulled my hand back instinctively, looking around to make sure no one had heard. "Khalid, you can't say things like that. You're sick. You're not thinking clearly." "I'm dying, Amira," he interrupted, his voice stronger than I'd heard it in weeks. "I'm dying and I know it. The doctors know it. Everyone knows it. And I've spent the last 2 weeks asking myself, what happens after? Where do I go? Allah feels distant. The prayers we've said, they don't bring peace. But when I watch these testimonies, when I hear about Jesus..." He paused, tears filling his eyes. "I feel something, Amira. Hope, love, like maybe there's more than just death waiting for me." I stood up, my own tears threatening to spill over. "Khalid, please, you're talking about apostasy. Do you know what that means? What would happen if Father heard you say these things? If the Imam back home knew?" "I don't care," he said simply. "What can they do to me that cancer isn't already doing? Amira, I'm not afraid of them. I'm afraid of dying without knowing the truth." I couldn't respond. I turned away, staring out the window at the Houston skyline, trying to process what my baby brother had just confessed. This was impossible. This was a nightmare. First, we were losing him to cancer. Now we were losing him to this? "Amira," he said softly behind me, "will you do something for me? Will you pray to Jesus? Ask him to heal me? If he's real, if he really has power, he'll answer. Just try. Please." I turned back to him, my heart breaking. "I can't. Khalid, I can't. It's shirk. It's the unforgivable sin. I can't pray to anyone but Allah." He nodded slowly, disappointment clouding his face. "I understand, but I'm going to pray. I'm going to ask him. And Amira, if he heals me, will you believe?" I couldn't answer. I just stood there, torn between my love for my brother and the terror of what he was asking. Finally, I whispered, "Just rest, Khalid. We'll talk more later." But we didn't talk more later. Because 3 days later, on December 28th, everything changed forever. It was just after midnight when my mother's scream woke me. I was staying at the apartment, having insisted she get some real sleep in a real bed. But something had pulled her from sleep, some instinct, and she'd called the hospital. Khalid's vitals were crashing. We needed to come now. We made it to the hospital in 15 minutes, my mother in the back seat reciting Ayat al-Kursi over and over, her voice breaking with sobs. I drove in silence, my hands gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles were white. Not yet, I kept thinking. Please, not yet. When we burst into Khalid's room, my father was already there. He'd been staying at a hotel closer to the hospital. Khalid was surrounded by doctors and nurses, machines beeping frantically, someone calling out numbers I didn't understand. But as soon as Khalid saw us, he weakly waved them back. "Stop," he whispered. "Please, stop." The lead doctor looked at my father, who stood frozen by the wall. "Mr. Al-Rashid, we can still..." "No," Khalid said, louder this time. "No more. I want to talk to my family. Please." The doctor hesitated, then slowly nodded. "I'll give you some privacy." One by one, the medical staff filed out, leaving just the four of us. My mother rushed to Khalid's side, grabbing his hand, her tears falling on his blanket. "Habibi, my baby, don't give up. Fight, please fight." Khalid smiled at her, a peaceful smile that seemed impossible given the circumstances. "Mama, it's okay. I'm not afraid anymore." "Don't talk like that," my father said, his voice rough. "You're going to be fine. We'll find another treatment, another doctor." "Baba, stop," Khalid said gently. "We both know that's not true. I'm dying. But that's okay, because I know where I'm going." Something about the way he said it made the air in the room feel heavy. My father's eyes narrowed. "What do you mean? You know where you're going? Every Muslim who dies in faith goes to paradise. You know this." Khalid looked at me then, and in his eyes I saw an apology and a plea. I need to tell you all something. I need to be honest before. He paused, taking a labored breath. I'm not a Muslim anymore. I gave my heart to Jesus Christ 3 days ago. The silence that followed was deafening. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. My father's face turned dark red, a vein pulsing in his temple. I just stood there paralyzed. You what? My father said, his voice dangerously quiet. I prayed to Jesus, Khalid said, his voice weak but steady. I asked him to forgive me, to be my Lord. And Baba, something happened. I felt him. I felt his love. For the first time since I got sick, I felt peace. My father's hand shot out, gripping the bed railing so hard I heard it creak. You fool. You ungrateful, foolish boy. Do you know what you're saying? Do you know what sin you're confessing? Hassan, my mother whispered, but he ignored her. We have spent millions on you. Millions. The best doctors, the best treatments. We have prayed, fasted, given charity, and you repay us by committing apostasy, by spitting on your family, your heritage, your faith. Tears were rolling down Khalid's cheeks now, but his expression remained peaceful. I'm sorry I'm hurting you, but I'm not sorry for what I've found. Baba, I'm dying. In a few hours, maybe sooner, I'll be gone, and when I am, I'll be with him. I'll be home. You'll be in Jahannam, my father spat. Hell, that's where apostates go. No, Khalid whispered. I'll be in paradise, real paradise, because of what he did for me on the cross. My father looked like he might strike him, but my mother stood, placing herself between them. Enough, both of you. Whatever has happened, whatever madness has taken hold, this is still our son, he's still our Khalid, and I will not spend his last. She couldn't finish, breaking down into sobs. I moved to my brother's other side, taking his hand. It was so cold, so fragile. Khalid, I whispered, are you sure about all of this? He smiled at me, squeezing my hand weakly. More sure than I've been about anything in my life. Amira, he's real. He loves you too. He's waiting for you. I wanted to argue, to tell him he was wrong, that the brain tumor had affected his thinking. But before I could speak, Khalid's eyes suddenly widened. He was looking at something beyond us, beyond the room, his face transforming into an expression of pure joy. Do you see him? Khalid whispered, his voice filled with awe. He's here. He's really here. Khalid? My mother's voice was panicked. See who? What are you talking about? But Khalid wasn't looking at us anymore. His gaze was fixed on the corner of the room, on something only he could see. Tears of joy streamed down his face. You came for me. You really came. Khalid, my father shouted, but my brother didn't respond. He's so beautiful, Khalid whispered. Everything they said, it doesn't even come close. Amira, don't be afraid. Follow him. He's worth everything. And then, with a final exhale that sounded almost like a laugh of pure delight, my baby brother closed his eyes and was gone. The next few minutes were chaos. My mother's wails, my father's roar of denial, doctors and nurses flooding back in, someone checking for a pulse we all knew wasn't there, someone else calling the time of death, 2:47 a.m. But I couldn't move. I stood frozen, staring at Khalid's face, because even in death he was smiling. I had seen death before, distant relatives, an elderly neighbor. Death made faces look empty, hollow, at rest at best. But Khalid looked joyful, like he'd just seen the most beautiful thing in the world and couldn't stop smiling about it. What if he was right? What if he really had seen something? Someone? The thought terrified me more than anything ever had before. We brought Khalid's body back to Doha 3 days later. My father had arranged for immediate burial according to Islamic rites, despite Khalid's deathbed confession. He was sick, my father said curtly. The tumor affected his mind. We will speak no more of his delusions. But we all knew the truth. The servants whispered about it. The imam who performed the funeral prayers seemed uneasy, as if he suspected something was wrong. My mother moved through the proceedings like a ghost, her eyes vacant, her movements mechanical. She had lost her son, yes, but she had also heard his final funeral words. Was massive, both as befitting a family of our status. Hundreds of people came to pay their respects. Business associates, religious leaders, government officials. They praised Khalid's intelligence, his potential, his character. They offered the standard condolences. Allah's will. May he find paradise. He is in a better place. I stood beside my parents, dressed in black, accepting embraces and murmured sympathies. But inside, I was screaming, because all I could see was Khalid's face in those final moments. All I could hear were his words. He's worth everything. My engagement to Rashid was postponed out of respect for our mourning period. My 25th birthday came and went unmarked in early January. The $300 million trust fund was officially released to me, but I barely noticed. Money meant nothing. It hadn't saved Khalid. It hadn't given him one more day, one more hour. For weeks after the funeral, I moved through life in a fog. I attended business meetings but couldn't focus. I prayed 5 times a day, but the words felt empty. At night, I would lie in my bed, staring at the ceiling, and think about my brother, about his courage, about his certainty, about the smile on his face as he died. One night, about a month after Khalid's death, I couldn't sleep. It was 3 a.m. and the house was silent. I got up, wrapping a robe around myself, and walked through the darkened hallways to Khalid's room. My mother had left it exactly as it was, unable to pack away his things. I pushed open the door and stepped inside. His scent still lingered faintly. His books were still on the shelf. His desk was still cluttered with papers and pens. I sat on his bed, running my hand over his pillow, and finally, I broke. I sobbed harder than I ever had in my life, curling into a ball on his bed, clutching his pillow to my chest. "Why?" I whispered into the darkness. "Why did you leave me? Why were you so sure? How could you smile like that?" In the silence that followed, I heard Khalid's voice in my memory. "Amira, will you do something for me? Will you pray to Jesus?" I had refused. I had been too afraid. And now he was gone, and I would never know, never understand what he had found that gave him such peace. Almost without thinking, I pulled out my phone. My hands trembled as I opened the browser. I hesitated, looking around the room as if someone might burst in at any moment. Then, slowly, I typed the same words Khalid must have typed weeks earlier. Jesus testimonies from Muslims. The screen filled with results. Videos, articles, testimonies from people all over the world. People who looked like me, spoke like me, came from families like mine. People who had found something that changed everything. I clicked on the first video. A woman in a hijab, her face carefully obscured, speaking in Arabic. "I was born in Egypt," she began. "I memorized the Quran. I prayed faithfully, but I always felt empty, until the day I called on the name of Jesus." I watched that video, then another, then another. For hours, I sat in my dead brother's room, my phone's brightness turned down to almost nothing, headphones plugged in, listening to story after story. People healed, people saved from impossible situations, people who had dreams and visions, people who spoke of a love they'd never known before. One man's testimony struck me particularly hard. He was from Saudi Arabia, like me. He described the emptiness I felt, the fear I knew, the impossible choice he'd had to make. "I lost everything," he said, "my family, my business, my country, but I gained something worth infinitely more. I gained him." As the sun began to rise, painting Khalid's room in shades of pink and gold, I closed my eyes and whispered words I never thought I'd say. "Jesus, if you're real, if you really saved my brother, show me. I'm not asking you to save me yet. I don't even know if I believe, but show me you're there. Help me understand what Khalid found." Nothing dramatic happened. No lightning, no vision, no voice from heaven. But as I sat there in the growing light, I felt something, a warmth, a presence. Like I wasn't alone in the room anymore. And for the first time since Khalid's death, I felt a flicker of something that might have been hope. Over the next 3 months, I lived a double life. By day, I was Amira al-Rashid, daughter of Hassan al-Rashid, heir to a fortune, engaged to be married, managing hotels and attending board meetings. I wore my designer abayas, I attended Friday prayers at the mosque, I smiled and nodded and played my part perfectly. But by night, I was someone else. Someone desperately searching for truth in places I'd been taught never to look. I became an expert at covering my tracks. I used a VPN to hide my internet activity. I created secret email accounts under false names. I watched Christian videos and sermons with headphones in, the screen dimmed to almost nothing, my finger always hovering over the home button in case someone knocked on my door. I read the Bible on my phone, in apps disguised as something else, swiping away frantically if a servant entered. The more I learned, the more everything I thought I knew began to unravel. I read the Gospels for the first time, and Jesus' words leap off the screen. "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." I was weary, I was burdened, Could he really offer rest? I learned about the crucifixion, about the resurrection, about grace and forgiveness that wasn't earned but freely given. It was so different from everything I'd been taught. In Islam, paradise was earned through deeds, through strict adherence to the law, through good works outweighing bad. One wrong step and you could end up in Jahannam. But Jesus offered something else, a gift. Salvation not through what we do, but through what he did. It was too good to be true, it had to be. But then I would remember Khalid's face, his smile, his absolute certainty, and I would wonder. I discovered online communities of secret believers in the Middle East. People who, like me, couldn't reveal their faith without risking everything. I read their stories, their struggles, their joy despite the danger. One woman wrote, "I may have to hide my Bible, but no one can take Christ from my heart. He is with me always, even in the silence." I wanted that. I wanted what they had, what Khalid had found. But I was terrified. The fear was everywhere. In Qatar, apostasy wasn't just religiously forbidden, it was legally dangerous. Even for someone of my status, maybe especially for someone of my status. If it became public that Hassan al-Rashid's daughter had left Islam, the scandal would be enormous. My father's business relationships depended on his reputation as a good Muslim. I would destroy him, destroy my family, and there was more to lose. My inheritance, my engagement, my home, my name. In our world, if you were disowned, you became nothing. No one would speak to you. No business would hire you. You would be a ghost, erased from every record, every memory. Could I give up everything for something I wasn't even sure I fully believed yet? But the seed that had been planted was growing. I couldn't stop it. I started noticing things I'd never paid attention to before. The emptiness in the eyes of people at the mosque, the fear that undergirded everything, the constant worry about measuring up, about being good enough. The way Allah was presented as distant, unknowable, waiting to judge. Jesus was different. In everything I read, he was close. He was love. He was the shepherd seeking the lost sheep, the father running to embrace the prodigal son. He wasn't waiting for me to earn my way to him. He was pursuing me. One night in late March, I had a dream. I was in a vast desert, alone, the sun beating down mercilessly. I was thirsty, so thirsty, and I could see water in the distance. I ran toward it, but it kept moving further away. I was exhausted, my legs giving out, and I collapsed in the sand, certain I was going to die there. Then I felt a hand on my shoulder. I looked up, and there was a man dressed in white. His face was kind, his eyes full of compassion. He held out a cup of water. "Drink," he said simply. I took the cup and drank, and it was the sweetest water I'd ever tasted. As I drank, I felt strength returning to my body. When I looked up to thank the man, he smiled. "I am the living water," he said. "Whoever drinks from me will never thirst again." I woke up with tears on my face, my heart pounding. I knew who the man was. I knew who had been pursuing me all this time. That night, April 2nd, at 3:17 a.m., according to my phone, I knelt beside my bed in the darkness of my room. My hands were shaking. My whole body was trembling. I had watched enough testimonies to know what I needed to do, but the weight of it terrified me. "Jesus," I whispered, my voice barely audible even to myself. "I don't know how to do this. I don't know the right words. But Khalid knew you, he saw you, and I want to know you too." Tears streamed down my face as I continued. I'm sorry for taking so long. I'm sorry I was too afraid to pray for Khalid when he asked. I'm sorry for every time I walked past your name and ignored it. Forgive me, please forgive me." I took a shaky breath. "I believe you died for me. I believe you rose from the dead. I believe you're the Son of God, the way, the truth, the life. I don't understand all of it yet, but I believe, and I give you my life, all of it. Whatever that means, wherever that leads, I'm yours." The moment I spoke those words, something shifted. I can't describe it except to say that the emptiness I'd carried my entire life, the hollow space I'd tried to fill with achievement and wealth and status, suddenly wasn't empty anymore. It was like a dam breaking, like light flooding into a dark room. I felt loved, truly, unconditionally loved in a way I had never experienced before. I collapsed onto the floor, sobbing, but they were different tears now. Not tears of grief or fear, but of relief, of joy, of coming home after being lost for so long. "Thank you," I kept whispering. "Thank you, thank you, thank you." I don't know how long I stayed there on the floor. When I finally stood, my legs weak, my face wet with tears. I looked at myself in the mirror. I looked the same. Same face, same body, same expensive nightgown, but everything was different. I was different. I was a Christian, a follower of Jesus Christ, in Qatar, in my father's house, and I had no idea what came next. The next few weeks were the strangest of my life. Outwardly, nothing changed. I still attended business meetings, still met with Rashid to discuss wedding plans that had been rescheduled for August, still accompanied my parents to social events. But inside, everything was transformed. I started reading the Bible voraciously, staying up until dawn, devouring it like someone who had been starving and finally found food. The Gospels, the Epistles, the Psalms, every word felt alive, personal, meant for me. I found verses that seemed written for my exact situation. Do not be afraid of those who kill the body but cannot kill the soul. Matthew 10:28. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me will find it. Matthew 16:25. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. John 16:33. I prayed constantly, silently throughout the day. In meetings I would pray for wisdom. In the car I would pray for courage. Alone in my room I would pray for my family, for their eyes to be open the way mine had been. I found an online community of secret believers in the Gulf region, people whose faces I would never see, whose real names I would never know, but who became my lifeline. We would chat in encrypted apps, sharing prayer requests, encouraging each other, celebrating small victories and mourning defeats. One woman, who called herself Sarah, had been a secret Christian for 7 years. The hiding is hard, she wrote to me, but you learn to carry his light inside you. They can control your actions, your words, but they cannot touch your heart. That belongs to him alone. I started to understand what she meant. I couldn't go to church, couldn't worship openly, couldn't even own a physical Bible. But I could love people the way Jesus loved. I could show grace. I could be different in small, quiet ways. I became more patient with the servants. I started really seeing them, learning their names, asking about their families. I gave generously to the Filipina housemaid whose son needed surgery, not as charity but as an act of love. I spoke kindly even when I was frustrated. Small things, secret things, but they mattered. My mother noticed. You've changed since Khalid, she said one day as we had tea together on the veranda. You're softer somehow, more peaceful. I nearly choked on my tea, terrified that she suspected. I'm trying to honor his memory, I managed to say, to be the kind of person he would be proud of. She reached over and squeezed my hand. He would be very proud of you, Habibti. If only she knew the truth. My relationship with Rashid became increasingly difficult. He was a good man by worldly standards, educated, successful, respectful. But every time we met to discuss the wedding, I felt like I was being buried alive. How could I marry him? How could I stand in a mosque and pledge my life to a man I didn't love, binding myself to a future that would require me to hide who I really was forever? But what choice did I have? If I broke the engagement, questions would be asked. If I told the truth about why, everything would explode. So I smiled and nodded and approved flower arrangements and menu selections, all while praying desperately for a way out. Jesus, I would whisper at night, I trust you, but I don't see how this ends. Show me what to do. The answer came in the most unexpected way. It was a Tuesday in mid-May when everything fell apart. I had been a Christian for about 6 weeks, careful, cautious, hiding every trace of my new faith. But I made one mistake. One small, stupid mistake that cost me everything. I had downloaded a Bible app on my phone, disguised with a false name and hidden in a folder with other apps. But late one night, exhausted after a long day, I fell asleep with the app still open, my phone lying beside me on the bed. I woke to someone shaking my shoulder. It was Fatima, one of the older housemaids, the woman who had helped raise me. Miss Amira, your mother needs you. There's an issue with... She stopped mid-sentence. I followed her gaze and felt my blood turn to ice. My phone screen was still lit, and clearly visible was the Gospel of John, chapter 3, verse 16. For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have eternal life. Fatima's eyes widened. For a long moment, we just stared at each other. Then she looked away quickly. I didn't see anything, she whispered. Please, Miss Amira, be more careful. She hurried out of the room, closing the door behind her. My hands shook as I closed the app and deleted it immediately. But the damage was done. Fatima knew, and while she had been kind, had pretended not to see. I knew how gossip spread in our household, how long before someone else found out, how long before it reached my father. I waited in terror for 3 days. Every footstep in the hallway made my heart race. Every knock on my door made me jump, but nothing happened. Fatima said nothing, did nothing, and I began to breathe a little easier. Then came Friday. We had guests that evening, a business associate of my father's and his family. I played the gracious daughter, serving coffee, making small talk, smiling at appropriate moments. After dinner, I excused myself and went upstairs to my room, exhausted from the performance. I didn't notice that I had left my journal on my desk. The journal where I wrote my prayers, my thoughts, my questions about faith. The journal whose first page read, "My Journey with Jesus Christ." I was in my bathroom when I heard my door open. I came out to find my mother standing in my room, my journal in her hands, her face white as death. "Mama," I started, but she held up a hand to silence me. "What is this?" Her voice was barely a whisper, trembling with shock and horror. "Amira, tell me this isn't real. Tell me this is some kind of research project, some kind of..." She couldn't finish. My mouth opened, but no sound came out. This was the moment I had dreaded, the confrontation I had prayed would never come, at least not yet, not like this. "You have to tell me," my mother said, tears starting to stream down her face. Have you? She couldn't even say the word. I could have lied. I could have made up an excuse, said I was studying comparative religion, said Khalid's death had made me curious about other faiths, but it meant nothing. I could have preserved my secret for a little longer. But as I stood there, looking at my mother's devastated face, I felt a strange calm settle over me. A voice in my heart, gentle but firm. "Tell the truth." "Yes," I said quietly. "It's real. I'm a follower of Jesus Christ." My mother's knees buckled. She sat down hard on my bed, the journal falling from her hands. No, Amira, what have you done? What have you done to yourself, to us?" "Mama, please listen. Your father," she gasped, her face crumbling. "Oh Allah, your father. This will kill him. Amira, the shame, the disgrace. How could you, after everything, after Khalid already?" She stopped, new horror dawning in her eyes. "Khalid, that's why he said those things. He wasn't delirious. He really... and you followed him into this madness." "It's not madness," I said, my own tears falling now. "Mama, I've found something real, something true. Jesus is..." "Don't," she shouted, pressing her hands over her ears. "Don't say that name in this house. Don't you dare." She stood abruptly, backing toward the door. "I have to tell your father. He'll know what to do. Maybe it's not too late. Maybe we can fix this before anyone else finds out. We'll bring the imam. He'll counsel you, help you see reason." "Mama, please," I begged. "Don't tell him yet. Give me time to..." "Time," she laughed, a bitter, broken sound. "Time for what? For you to destroy us completely? The wedding is in 3 months, Amira. 3 months. What do you think Rashid's family would say if they knew? What do you think happens to your father's business relationships with the royal family when they discover his daughter is an apostate?" She grabbed the doorknob, then turned back to me one last time. "I'm going to tell your father, tonight, and you need to prepare yourself to renounce this, all of it, or..." Her voice broke. "Or I don't know what will happen to you." She left, closing the door behind her. I heard her footsteps rushing down the hallway, heard her calling for my father. I sat down on my bed, surprisingly calm. This was it. Everything was about to come crashing down. And somewhere deep inside, beneath the fear, I felt a flicker of something else. Relief. My father came to my room 30 minutes later. I had spent that time on my knees, praying for courage, for wisdom, for the right words. When I heard his footsteps in the hallway, heavy and deliberate, I stood to face him. He entered without knocking, my mother trailing behind him, her face swollen from crying. My father's expression was terrible to behold, a mixture of rage and something that looked almost like grief. "Is it true?" His voice was deadly quiet. "What your mother told me, is it true?" I took a breath, remembering Jesus' words, "Whoever acknowledges me before others, I will also acknowledge before my Father in heaven." This was my moment. "Yes, Baba, it's true. I believe in Jesus Christ. I'm a Christian." The slap came so fast I didn't see it coming. My head snapped to the side, my cheek exploding with pain. I stumbled but caught myself on the desk. "Hassan!" my mother cried out, but he ignored her. "How dare you?" he said, his voice shaking. "How dare you speak that heresy in my house? After everything I have given you, everything I have built, you would throw it all away for this cult?" I straightened, my cheek throbbing, tasting blood in my mouth. "It's not a cult, Baba. It's the truth. Jesus died for me, for all of us. He rose from the dead. He's alive. Enough!" he roared. "I will not hear this blasphemy. You have been poisoned, corrupted. First Khalid with his dying delusions, now you. What happened? Who did this to you?" "No one did this to me," I said, my voice steady despite my racing heart. "I found him myself. I saw what he did for Khalid, the peace he gave him, and I wanted that peace too." My father's face twisted with fury. Khalid died in disgrace, turning his back on Allah in his final moments. And now you want to follow him into hellfire? I won't allow it. He pulled out his phone. "I'm calling Sheikh Abdullah. He will come tonight. You will meet with him, you will recant this madness, and we will never speak of it again." "I can't do that, Baba." He froze, staring at me as if I'd grown a second head. "What did you say?" "I can't renounce my faith. I won't. Jesus is Lord. He's my Savior. I love him more than my own life." The silence that followed was suffocating. My father's hand slowly lowered, his phone forgotten. When he spoke again, his voice was cold. "Then you leave me no choice." He turned to my mother. "Get out. What I have to say to her should not be heard by you." My mother hesitated, then fled, sobbing. The door closed behind her with a soft click. My father walked to the window, his back to me, his hands clasped behind him. "You understand what apostasy means in our faith, in our country, in our family." "Yes," I whispered. "If this becomes public, you could be arrested, tried. At minimum, you would be imprisoned. At worst." He didn't finish. He didn't need to. "But beyond even that, you would destroy our family. Everything I have built, the respect, the relationships, the business, all of it depends on our reputation, on being known as a good Muslim family. Your brother's death was already difficult to explain. If word spreads about what he said on his deathbed, if people learn that Hassan al-Rashid's children are apostates," he turned to face me, "it would be the end of everything." "I'm sorry," I said, and I meant it. "I never wanted to hurt you, but I can't deny him. Not even for you." My father studied me for a long moment, his expression unreadable. "Very well, then here's what will happen. Tomorrow morning, Sheikh Abdullah will come. You will meet with him privately. He will counsel you, pray with you, help you see reason. If you recant, if you return to Islam, we will say you were grieving, confused, led astray by your sorrow over Khalid. We will move forward with your wedding as planned. Your inheritance will be secure, and we will never speak of this again." He paused, his eyes hard. "But if you refuse, if you persist in this apostasy, then you are no longer my daughter. You will be disowned completely. Your inheritance will be revoked. Your name will be stricken from our family records. You will leave this house with nothing, and you will never be allowed to return. You will be dead to us." My knees felt weak, but I forced myself to stand straight. "And what about the wedding?" "The wedding will be cancelled. I will tell the Al-Mansuri family that you have become mentally unstable, that Khalid's death has broken your mind. They will pity us rather than blame us. Rashid will be spared the shame of being associated with an apostate." He stepped closer to me. $300 million, Amira. Your entire inheritance, your home, your family, your future, everything. Gone. You will have nothing. You will be nothing. And for what? For a dead prophet that Christians worship as God? "He's not dead," I said softly. "He's alive, and he's not just a prophet. He is God." My father's face hardened. "Then you are a fool. Sheikh Abdullah will be here at 9 tomorrow morning. You have until then to come to your senses. I suggest you spend the night in prayer, asking Allah for guidance and forgiveness." He walked to the door, then paused. Without turning around, he said, "I loved you, Amira. You were my pride, my joy. I had such plans for you." His voice cracked slightly. "I don't understand how I lost both my children to this madness." He left, closing the door behind him. I heard the lock click. I was a prisoner in my own room. I collapsed onto my bed, my whole body shaking. The enormity of what was happening crashed over me like a wave. Tomorrow I would have to choose. Everything I had ever known or Jesus. my family, my wealth, my future, or him. $300 million. I thought about what that money could buy. Security for life, the ability to help thousands of people, freedom to travel anywhere, do anything, be anything. It was more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. And I was being asked to walk away from it all. For the first time since my conversion, I felt real doubt. Not doubt about Jesus, not doubt about whether he was real or whether I truly believed, but doubt about whether I had the strength to do this, to lose everything. Jesus, I whispered into the darkness, I'm so scared. I don't know if I can do this. It's too much. It's too hard. In the silence that followed, I heard no audible voice, but a verse came to my mind, one I had memorized weeks earlier. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Where was my treasure? Was it in the bank accounts, in the trust fund, in the Al-Rashid name? Or was it in the man who died on a cross for me, who rose from the grave, who had transformed my emptiness into joy? I thought about Khalid's smile as he died, about the testimonies I'd read of people who had lost everything for Christ and called it gain, about Jesus' own words, what good is it for someone to gain the whole world, yet forfeit their soul? I prayed through the night, wrestling with God like Jacob wrestled with the angel. I thought about my mother's tears, my father's disappointment, the life I would be leaving behind, the uncertainty of what came next. But I also thought about the love I'd experienced since giving my life to Christ, the peace that had filled the emptiness, the way everything made sense now in a way it never had before. And I knew, deep in my bones, that even if I lost everything else, I couldn't lose him. As dawn broke over Doha, painting my room in shades of pink and gold, I made my decision. I chose Jesus. Sheikh Abdullah arrived precisely at 9, as my father had promised. He was an elderly man, respected throughout Tar for his knowledge and his position at the Grand Mosque. I had known him my entire life. He had taught me and Khalid the Quran when we were children. He came to my room accompanied by my father. My mother was not there. I learned later that she had taken to her bed, unable to face what was happening. Amira, Sheikh Abdullah said gently, settling into a chair while my father stood by the door like a sentinel. Your father has told me of your confusion. I am here to help guide you back to the straight path. For 3 hours he tried. He quoted the Quran. He spoke of the dangers of being led astray. He explained Islamic theology, pointing out what he saw as contradictions and impossibilities in Christianity. The Trinity made no sense. Jesus couldn't be God and man. The crucifixion was a lie. The Bible had been corrupted. I listened respectfully, but I also answered. I had spent months studying, reading, learning. I spoke of prophecies fulfilled, of the historical evidence for the resurrection, of the transformation Jesus had made in my life and in Khalid's final moments. But most of all, I said quietly, I know he's real because I've experienced him. He's not distant like Allah always felt. He's close. He's personal. He loves me not because of what I do, but because of who he is. Sheikh Abdullah's expression grew stern. You speak of feelings, of personal experience, but feelings are not truth. The Quran is truth. The word of Allah is truth. With respect, Sheikh, I believe the Bible is truth, and more than that, Jesus is truth. He said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. The Sheikh turned to my father. She is lost to reason. The corruption is deep. I recommend you take her to a facility where she can receive intensive counseling. There are places that specialize in dealing with those who have been influenced by Western ideas. My father nodded grimly. Thank you, Sheikh Abdullah. I will consider it. After the Sheikh left, my father stood in the doorway, looking at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Anger, yes, but also something that might have been disappointment or even sorrow. Last chance, he said. Renounce this, come back to Islam, keep everything, or lose it all. I stood, my legs shaky but my resolve firm. I can't, Baba. I love you. I love Mama, but I love Jesus more, and I can't deny him, not for anything. For a long moment my father just stared at me. Then he nodded once sharply. So be it. You have 2 hours to pack 1 suitcase. Take only what you can carry. Everything else stays here. Your passport, your credit cards, your phone, all of it belongs to this family, not to you. You will leave with the clothes on your back and whatever personal items fit in 1 bag. Baba, you are no longer Amira al-Rashid. That girl is dead. Do you understand? Dead. You have no family, You have no inheritance, you have nothing. He pulled an envelope from his pocket and threw it on the bed. There is $5,000 in cash. Consider it charity. It is more than you deserve. After you leave, do not attempt to contact anyone in this family. Do not come back to this house. If you approach any of us, I will have you arrested for harassment. My eyes filled with tears. Baba, please, can't we? 2 hours, he said coldly. After that, security will escort you out. If you are still here, they will remove you by force. He left, closing the door with a finality that echoed like a gunshot. I sat on my bed, staring at the envelope of cash, trying to process what had just happened. I had known this was coming, had prepared for it, but the reality was so much harsher than I had imagined. I was being erased, deleted from my own family as if I had never existed. My hands shook as I pulled out my suitcase and began to pack. What do you take when you can only take one bag? What matters when everything else is being stripped away? I packed clothes, practical things, nothing fancy. My laptop, hoping my father wouldn't think to confiscate it. The few photos I had of Khalid, which I hid in my clothes. A small prayer journal where I had written thoughts and prayers over the past weeks. The cash from the envelope. As I packed, I kept stopping, sitting on the bed, trying to comprehend the magnitude of what I was doing. $300 million. Gone. My family, gone. My name, my identity, my entire life, gone. Jesus, I whispered, tears streaming down my face. I hope you're worth it. I'm giving up everything for you. Please don't let me regret this. But even as I said it, I felt that familiar peace wash over me, a whisper in my heart. I am with you, always. There was a soft knock on my door. I tensed, expecting security, but it was Fatima who entered. Her eyes were red from crying. Miss Amira, she whispered, glancing behind her to make sure no one was listening. I heard what happened. I'm so sorry. You knew, I said suddenly, remembering that night she had seen my phone. You knew, and you didn't tell anyone. She nodded, tears spilling over. My sister, she is a Christian, in the Philippines. She has tried to tell me about Jesus for years, but I was too afraid to listen. When I saw your phone that night, I knew, and I couldn't betray you. She pressed something into my hand, a piece of paper with an address and a phone number. This is a contact in Dubai. They help people like you, people who have to leave because of their faith. They can help you get somewhere safe. I stared at the paper, then at her. Thank you so much. She hugged me quickly, then pulled back. Your brother in the hospital, he really saw Jesus? Yes, he did. She nodded slowly. Then maybe my sister is right. Maybe he really is. She couldn't finish, too afraid to say it even in a whisper. But she squeezed my hand once more before slipping out of the room. When the 2 hours were up, I took one last look around my bedroom. The room I had grown up in, the room where I had laughed and cried and dreamed, the room where I had knelt and given my life to Christ. I picked up my suitcase, took a deep breath, and walked out. My father was waiting at the bottom of the stairs, flanked by 2 security guards. My mother was nowhere to be seen. I learned later that she couldn't bear to watch me leave. Do you have anything belonging to the family? My father asked coldly. Phone, credit cards, jewelry? I had already removed everything. I handed him my phone, my wallet with all the family cards, even the small gold necklace he had given me for my 16th birthday. He took them without comment, passing them to one of the guards. The car will take you to the airport, he said. You have a ticket to Dubai. After that, you are on your own. Do not come back to Qatar. You are not welcome here. I wanted to say something, to tell him I loved him, to beg him to understand, but the words stuck in my throat. He wouldn't want to hear them anyway. As I turned to leave, I heard a sound from the top of the stairs. My mother was there, one hand pressed to her mouth, tears streaming down her face. Our eyes met for one long moment. I saw love there, and grief, and something that might have been understanding. Then she turned and disappeared down the hallway. The car ride to the airport was surreal. I sat in the back seat, clutching my suitcase, watching Doha pass by outside the window. The gleaming skyscrapers, the luxury hotels my family owned, the mosque where I had prayed for years, the life I was leaving behind. At the airport, the driver handed me my ticket, one way to Dubai, and left without a word. I stood alone in the terminal, surrounded by travelers, feeling completely untethered. Who was I now? Not Amira al-Rashid. That person no longer existed. just Amira, a woman with one suitcase and $5,000, no family, no home, no plan. As I waited for my flight, I pulled out the paper Fatima had given me and stared at the address, my lifeline to whatever came next. Jesus, I whispered, I've lost everything for you. Please show me you're worth it. Please show me this wasn't a mistake. My flight was called. I picked up my suitcase and walked toward the gate, leaving behind a fortune, a family, and everything I had ever known. But I wasn't afraid anymore, because I wasn't walking alone. That was 3 years ago. 3 years since I walked away from the Al-Rashid fortune, from my family, from everything I had ever known. 3 years since I chose Jesus over $300 million. People always want to know if I regret it. If I lie awake at night thinking about the money I gave up, the life I could have had. The answer is simple: no, not even for a moment. The contact in Dubai that Fatima gave me was real. They were part of an underground network that helps believers escape persecution in the Middle East. They helped me get to Europe, helped me apply for asylum, helped me start over. The first year was hard, harder than I can express in words. I went from a palace with 47 servants to a tiny studio apartment in a city where I didn't speak the language. I went from designer clothes to secondhand jeans and t-shirts. I went from a personal driver to taking the bus, from gourmet meals prepared by private chefs to learning to cook simple pasta because it was all I could afford. I had to learn how to do everything: how to grocery shop, how to budget, how to take public transportation, how to live on a few $100s a month. Things everyone else learned as teenagers, I was learning at 25. There were nights I cried from loneliness, nights I missed my mother so much it physically hurt. Nights I wondered what my father was doing, whether he ever thought of me, whether he mourned the daughter he had erased. But there were other things too, things that made it all worthwhile. Like the first time I walked into a church, a real church, with a cross on the wall and people worshiping Jesus openly, without fear. I sat in the back pew and sobbed through the entire service, overwhelmed by the beauty of it, the freedom of it. I could sing about Jesus, I could say his name out loud, I could raise my hands in worship. No one would arrest me, no one would disown me. I was free. Like the day I was baptized, I went under the water as someone without a name, without a family, without a past, and I came up as a new creation, a daughter of the King of Kings, richer than I had ever been, with $300 million in the bank, like the community of believers who became my new family. People who had also sacrificed everything for Christ. We understood each other in a way that people who haven't walked this path never could. They celebrated with me. They cried with me. They helped me find a job teaching English to refugee children. They showed me what the body of Christ really looks like. I teach now. I work with refugee children from Syria, Afghanistan, Somalia, places torn apart by war and persecution. Many of them have lost everything too. They understand what it means to start over with nothing, and I get to tell them about the one who makes everything new. I live simply. My apartment is small, my possessions few. I don't have a car or expensive clothes or any of the luxuries I grew up with, but I have something infinitely more valuable. I have Jesus. I have his presence, his peace, his love, and I have freedom. Sometimes I think about my old life, about the business meetings and the designer abayas and the luxury hotels, about Rashid, who I heard married someone else, a suitable match from another wealthy family, about my father's empire, which continues to grow, about the $300 million that would have been mine. And you know what? I don't want it back. Not for a second. Because I have something that all the money in the world couldn't buy. I have a relationship with the living God. I know the man who died for me, who rose from the dead, who calls me his beloved. I wake up every morning with joy. Real joy, not the fake happiness I used to wear like an expensive perfume. I have purpose. I have meaning. I have life. Real life. Abundant life. Jesus said, "What good is it for someone to gain the whole world yet forfeit their soul?" I used to think I understood that verse, but now I really understand it, because I had the world, or at least a significant piece of it, and it was empty. It was meaningless. It was a golden cage. Now I have nothing by the world's standards, and I have everything. The price was high, I won't pretend it wasn't. I lost my family, I lost my name, I lost a fortune. I live on a fraction of what I used to spend on shoes in a month. I may never see my mother again. My father has made it clear that I am dead to him, but I gained Christ. And as Paul said, everything else is rubbish compared to knowing him. I want you to understand something. I'm not special. I'm not particularly brave or strong. I'm just a woman who met Jesus and couldn't walk away, who loved him more than comfort, more than security, more than family approval, who took him at his word when he said he was worth everything. If you're reading this and you're in a similar situation, if you're hiding your faith, if you're facing the choice between Jesus and everything else, let me tell you, choose him. It won't be easy. The cost is real, but he is worth it. He is worth everything. There's a verse I cling to, one that has become my anthem. It's from Psalm 73. Whom have I in heaven but you? And earth has nothing I desire besides you. My flesh and my heart may fail, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever. God is my portion. Not money, not status, not family approval. God himself is my inheritance, and he is enough. I still pray for my family every single day. I pray that one day they will have the same encounter with Jesus that I had, that they will understand why I made the choice I made, that they will see that I didn't leave them because I stopped loving them, but because I found a love that was even greater. I pray especially for my mother. I know she thinks of me. Sometimes I imagine her walking past my old room or seeing something that reminds her of me, and I hope she knows that I would make the same choice again, not because she doesn't matter, but because Jesus matters more. And I pray for my father, the man who erased me from his life, who chose his reputation over his daughter. I pray that the Holy Spirit will soften his heart, that he will remember Khalid's smile as he died, that he will wonder, just for a moment, what we saw that was worth losing everything for. I've had dreams about Khalid. In them, he's healthy and whole, glowing with joy. He always says the same thing, "You made the right choice, Amira. I'm so proud of you." I don't know if they're really messages from him or just my subconscious, but they bring me comfort either way. Sometimes people from my old life find out what happened to me. The story spread, as scandals do in wealthy circles. Hassan al-Rashid's daughter, the apostate who walked away from $300 million. I'm sure they think I'm insane. I'm sure they shake their heads and say, what a waste, what a tragedy. But I'm not a tragedy. I'm a miracle. I'm a testament to the transforming power of Jesus Christ. I'm proof that he is more valuable than all the treasures of this world. Last month, I received a message through an encrypted app. It was from someone who claimed to know my family. They said my mother keeps a photo of me hidden in her prayer room, that she prays for me every night, though she would never admit it to my father, that she tells Allah she doesn't understand what I've done, but she still loves me. I cried when I read that. Because even though I can't see her, even though I may never see her again in this life, love remains. And that gives me hope. Hope that love might one day lead her to the source of all love, to Jesus. If you've made it this far in my story, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to hear about what Jesus has done in my life, about the price I paid and the treasure I gained. Maybe you're in a similar situation. Maybe you're from a Muslim background or another faith, and you're curious about Jesus. Maybe you've already given your heart to him, but you're hiding it, terrified of what might happen if people find out. Maybe you're standing at the same crossroads I stood at, being asked to choose between him and everything else. I want to tell you what I wish someone had told me. It's worth it. Whatever you have to give up, whatever you have to walk away from, he is worth it. The peace, the joy, the love, the purpose, the relationship with the God of the universe who knows your name and calls you his beloved, it's worth everything. Yes, there will be loss. Yes, there will be pain. Yes, there will be nights when you cry yourself to sleep, missing the life you left behind, the people you lost. I won't lie to you and say it's easy, but there will also be mornings when you wake up and remember that you're free. Really, truly free. Free from the weight of trying to earn your salvation. Free from the fear of never being good enough. Free to love and be loved by the one who made you, who died for you, who calls you by name. If you're reading this and you don't know Jesus yet, I want to tell you about him. He's not a distant God who watches your every move, waiting to punish you. He's not a cosmic judge keeping score of your good deeds and bad deeds. He's a savior who left heaven to come find you. who died a brutal death on a cross to pay for your sins, who rose from the dead 3 days later, defeating death itself, who is alive right now, waiting for you to call on his name. You don't have to clean up your life first. You don't have to be good enough. You just have to come to him as you are and say, I believe, I need you, save me, and he will. I promise you, he will. If you're reading this and you're already a Christian, but you've never had to sacrifice for your faith, I want to ask you, what would you give up for Jesus? If you had to choose between him and your comfort, your career, your family's approval, your financial security, what would you choose? I'm not saying everyone will be called to give up what I gave up, most won't, but I am saying that Jesus deserves to be loved more than anything else in our lives. And sometimes that love requires sacrifice. Don't wait until you're faced with an ultimatum to decide where your treasure really is. Decide now. Choose now. Fall so deeply in love with Jesus that nothing else compares. Then when the tests come, and they will come in various forms for all of us, you'll be ready. To my brothers and sisters who are secret believers in Muslim countries or other restricted areas, I see you. Jesus sees you. You're not alone. Keep the faith. Keep trusting him. He knows your situation. He knows the danger you're in, and he will never abandon you. Use every bit of freedom you have to grow in him. Read his word in secret. Pray constantly. Find other believers online if you can't connect in person. Let his light shine through you in small ways, even if you can't speak his name openly. Your hidden faith is not less valuable than open faith. God sees your heart, and that's what matters. And if the day comes when you're forced to choose, when your secret is discovered and you face the same ultimatum I faced, remember this: he is worth it. Whatever they take from you, they can't take him. Whatever you lose, you gain Christ. And that is more than enough. It's been 3 years since I walked out of my father's house with 1 suitcase and $5,000. 3 years since I lost my name, my family, my fortune. 3 years since I became nobody in the eyes of the world. And they've been the best 3 years of my life. I'm not rich. I'm not famous. I don't have an impressive title or a corner office. I live in a small apartment and take the bus to work. I shop at thrift stores and count my euros carefully at the grocery store. But I wake up every morning with a smile. I pray without fear. I worship without hiding. I read my Bible openly on the bus, and when people ask me about it, I get to tell them about Jesus. I have brothers and sisters in Christ who love me, who are my real family now. I have purpose and meaning and joy. Last week I led one of my students to Christ. She's a 13-year-old girl from Syria who has lost everything to war. Her parents are dead. She lives in a refugee center. She has nothing. But after I shared my testimony with her, she prayed with me and gave her heart to Jesus. "Do you think he really loves me?" she asked, tears streaming down her face. "Even though I have nothing, even though I'm nobody." I held her hands and looked into her eyes. "You're not nobody. You're a daughter of the King. And yes, he loves you more than you can possibly imagine. I gave up $300 million for him. You know why? Because he's worth infinitely more than that." She smiled through her tears, and I thought about how far that $5,000 had come. It had sustained me for the first few months until I found work. But it was nothing compared to the riches I had gained in Christ. And now I got to share those riches with a little girl who needed hope. This is what I gave up my fortune for moments like this, for the privilege of pointing others to Jesus, for the joy of seeing people encounter the same love that transformed me. Sometimes I wonder what my life would be like if I had made the other choice. If I had renounced my faith, married Rashid, taken my inheritance, I'd be living in a palace right now. I'd have servants and drivers and unlimited shopping accounts. I'd be managing hotels and attending galas and taking private jets to Paris for the weekend. But I would be empty. I would be living a lie. I would be denying the one who gave everything for me. I would be rich in money and poor in soul. No amount of wealth is worth that. Jesus once told a story about a merchant who found a pearl of great price. He sold everything he had to buy it. Everything. And he did it with joy because he knew that pearl was worth more than all his other possessions combined. Jesus is my pearl of great price. And giving up my fortune to have him wasn't a sacrifice. It was the best investment I ever made. I don't know who will hear this testimony. Maybe someone in Qatar who knew my family and heard whispers about what happened to Hassan al-Rashid's daughter. Maybe someone in a similar situation, standing at the same crossroads I faced. Maybe someone who has never had to sacrifice anything for their faith, but needs to understand that Jesus is worth any cost. Whoever you are, wherever you're reading this from, I want you to know, Jesus is real, He's alive, He loves you, and He is worth everything. The world will tell you that security comes from money, from family approval, from status and success. But I had all of those things, and they didn't satisfy. They didn't heal the emptiness inside me. Only Jesus could do that. I gave up $300 million. I lost my family. I lost my name. I lost everything the world says matters. And I would do it again in a heartbeat. Because I gained something infinitely more valuable. I gained Christ. I gained eternal life. I gained a peace that surpasses understanding. I gained a joy that doesn't depend on circumstances. I gained a Father who will never disown me, a family that will never reject me, and a home that can never be taken away. This world and its treasures are temporary. They're dust, they're vapor, but Jesus is eternal. And when I stand before Him one day, when this short life is over and I enter eternity, I won't regret the fortune I walked away from. I'll only rejoice that I chose Him. If you're facing the same choice I faced, if you're being asked to choose between Jesus and something else, family, career, security, wealth, reputation, I'm begging you, choose Jesus. The cost is real, but He is worth it. Trust me, I know. And if you don't know Jesus yet, if you've read this whole story and you're curious about the man I gave up everything for, I want to invite you to meet Him. It's simple. Just talk to Him. Tell Him you believe He died for you and rose again. Ask Him to forgive you and be your Lord. Surrender your life to Him. He won't disappoint you. He won't abandon you. He won't erase you or disown you or stop loving you. He will never leave you or forsake you. He is faithful, always. My name used to be Amira al-Rashid, daughter of Hassan al-Rashid, heir to a fortune. Now I'm just Amira, daughter of the King of Kings, heir to an eternal inheritance that can never perish, spoil, or fade. And I wouldn't trade that for all the money in the world. Jesus is my treasure. He is my portion. He is my everything, and He is worth it. He is worth it all. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Matthew 6:21. What good is it for someone to gain the whole world, yet forfeit their soul? Mark 8:36. I consider everything a loss because of the surpassing worth of knowing Christ Jesus my Lord, for whose sake I have lost all things. I consider them garbage, that I may gain Christ. Philippians 3:8.